Hello, Rudy Lewis here to talk to you guys about the ketogenic diet. Once again, Rudy Lewis. I'm a master's. I have masters in nutrition, human nutrition from the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, and so I'm here to talk to you guys about the ketogenic diet, its benefits, who should use the ketogenic diet, maybe who shouldn't, and how the ketogenic diet works. And so first, I want to show you a few things. The ketogenic diet is really good for those who have epilepsy or have seizures, cancer, diabetes, those who want to lose weight, and endurance athletes. And so, for those five groups right there, people who have those or endurance athletes, the ketogenic diet can hold many benefits for them. And so, with the ketogenic diet, what we're going to do is we're going to increase the amount of fat in our diet, and we're going to significantly decrease the amount of carbs. And so, we're going to have a diet of about 75 to 80% fats, maybe 10 to 15% proteins, and then the rest will be carbs, so about 5% carbs. So we're going to significantly lower the carbs in the diet. And by doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to force our bodies into fat metabolism. So our bodies are going to metabolize it's going to have to metabolize fats. And what happens then is as your body starts to metabolize more and more fats, you're going to start producing ketone bodies. So the body won't be able to break down the long chain fats, enough of the long chain fats, without forming the ketone body. So it's going to run out of different enzymes or whatever. So it's going to need to form these smaller ketone bodies right here. And so right up here we got acetone, we got acetoacetate, and this one right here, I actually forgot to write the name, is beta hydroxybutyrate, and that's an important one right here. So, and what those are, these are all ketone bodies, and why they're so important is the brain, and a lot of the brain, the nerves, the kidneys can use these ketone bodies for energy when glucose is not available. The brain would rather use glucose, but when glucose isn't available, it can survive off of the ketone bodies right here. And all these ketone bodies can be or sort of acidic. So when these levels rise high in the body, when they rise really high, they can cause an acidosis, especially if there's dehydration or something like that. They can cause an acidosis, and sometimes in diabetics you'll see some of them with a ketoacidosis. So that's one thing you need to be careful of. You may have to make sure you're eating lots of alkaline vegetables when you're on the ketogenic diet, so you don't go into this acidosis with these acetone, acetoacetate, and hydroxybutyrate. And so first we're going to go over why the ketogenic diet is really good for those with epilepsy or seizures. And this has been known for probably over about 120 years that the ketogenic diet works really well with those with epilepsy and seizures. They tend to decrease the symptoms, the seizures, when they get on a high fat diet or the ketogenic diet. And basically, what the scientists believe is this one, beta hydroxybutyrate, significantly reduces the numbers of seizures when the brain is using that beta hydroxybutyrate to for an energy source instead of glucose. When the brain is using glucose, it tends to still have the seizures and the epilepsy, but when the brain is exposed to high ketone levels, especially beta hydroxybutyrate, what they notice is that the symptoms, the seizures, the epilepsy, it goes down significantly, and the people are able to live a regular life when they're on that ketogenic diet. And so that's why it's good for that condition. It's also good for cancer because many cancer cells survive off of glucose. They can solely use glucose to really thrive and to continue their growth. And so cancer, the ketogenic diet can be a significant benefit. Now, not for all cancers. There are some cases where cancers can survive off of the ketone bodies, but in a lot of cases, when you're on a high ketogenic diet, along with other treatments, whether that be chemotherapy or whatever, you can significantly reduce the growth of cancer, and it can help you sort of get rid of that cancer if you combine the ketogenic diet with other methods of treatment. So the ketogenic diet is very important there. And like I said, the cancer cells, they can grow really fast when there's a lot of glucose around. So they really like to survive on glucose. And in the cancer cells, many of the metabolic mechanisms, the beta oxidation, the burning of the long chain fats could be sort of out of whack or not functioning correctly, but usually they can burn glucose for energy. And so if you sort of take the glucose away and use multiple methods of treatment, you can really significantly decrease the issues that are derived with a cancer. Um, the next case is for diabetes. Now, the ketogenic diet is important for the diabetics because with the ketogenic diet, we're going to reduce the intake of sugars. And of course, we know with diabetes, diabetics had trouble getting sugar into the muscle and fat cells because the cells are no longer sensitive to insulin. It could be because of a lot of fat inside of those muscle cells, and of course, the fat cells being, you know, overrun with fat and energy that they no longer want to take in any more energy, so they're no longer sensitive to insulin. So the body keeps producing more and more insulin, but the body does not respond. Those cells do not respond to the insulin and bring up the glucose 4 transporter, which brings in the sugar. And so what happens is the sugar just increases inside of the blood, and that's where the sugars combine with proteins. When they're at high level, they combine with proteins, and they cause glycated proteins to exist. And what those do is go into the small microvasculature of the kidneys, of the eyes, and destroy that. And also the macrovascular, the bigger veins, and destroy those also. That's what happens when you're on the when you have diabetes and you're not controlling the blood sugar levels, is you have really high glycated proteins. And so that's why the ketogenic diet could help, because we severely reduce sugar in the ketogenic diet. We're going to rely on fats. And so that way we take a lot of the sugar out of the blood. And that's basically how it helps a diabetic, because they're not worried about those high sugar levels. They're going to have more fat in the blood. But if you are a diabetic, though, one thing you do need to do is make sure that you're not just taking in a lot of meats and you're on an Atkins style ketogenic diet. You want to be on a vegan style ketogenic diet where you're taking in lots of vegetables, avocados, nuts, and seeds. So you're getting a good mix of of fats, and you're not taking in too much saturated fat. You want to take in equal parts polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, and saturated. And so you're getting a good mix of those fats. Because if it's mainly saturated fat, then you could have more issues with the health of the vasculature, in terms of keeping the clots out and the cholesterol lower and all of that. So you really want to get a good mix of the fats. Excuse me. And for the next thing, the next way that the ketogenic can help with weight loss. And how it helps with weight loss is pretty interesting. So when you decrease your intake of sugars and glucose, you also decrease the amount of stored glucose you have in your body, which is called glycogen. Now with glycogen, when you have glycogen in the muscle cells and in the liver, it also carries water with it. And so those who get on the ketogenic diet will lose a lot of water weight and thus lose a lot of weight. So you have to be careful using a ketogenic diet to lose weight. If you're on that vegan style ketogenic diet, it's going to be helpful because you're going to increase the fiber, you're going to increase a lot of the vitamins, nutrients, minerals, and it's going to be good for you. But losing water weight, what happens is once you get off the diet, the water comes back, once you eat and start to eat sugars and things like that again. But if you're on a vegan style diet, you're going to decrease the amount of calories in terms of the saturated fats and all of that coming into the body overall. And of course, you're going to decrease the amount of glucose and sugars and fast, easily digested, simple sugars in your diet. And so that's going to help you lose weight anyway. So that's a good reason why it'll help with weight loss. But like I said, be careful. You don't want to be on that Atkins style ketogenic diet or one with a lot of protein in it, because, with too much protein, you're still going to have that protein can be turned into glucose, and you still have more of the stored glycogen and all of that in the water that comes with it. So you won't do as well at losing weight. And so for the fifth reason is for endurance athletes. Now, endurance athletes, a lot of them, they really need to train their bodies to rely on fat metabolism for as long as possible before they need to go into their glucose stores, into their glycogen stores, And so that's sort of that lactate threshold. They want to rely on as much fat metabolism as possible before they have to use those glucose stores. Because once you bring in the glucose, that's when the lactic acid and everything starts to build up, and that's what can cause trouble to those. Well, not trouble, but it can make endurance athletes struggle more when that lactic acid builds up and it makes recovery a bit longer. And so that's one reason why endurance athletes would get on the ketogenic diet, because once they're on that diet, they train their body to produce the enzymes needed to break down fats mainly. And so when they go and exercise on this type of diet, they're relying more on fats. And so when they get in competition, they can rely on for fat. They can rely on fats for longer periods of time before they need to go into their glucose or uses more of their glucose, and that's when that lactic acid starts to build up from anaerobic metabolism right there. So that's a good reason why endurance athletes get on this diet. All right, and so those are the 5 cases where the ketogenic diet is really helpful. And like I stress, I would really want to stress that you get on a vegan ketogenic diet when you try this. So you're not relying on eating a lot of steak and egg and things like that. Chicken, you want to eat a lot of vegetables, large salads, big soups, things like that, and you want to reduce the the starchy carbs. Of course, fruits you would have to significantly reduce. You probably eat no more than 1 piece of fruit per day, maybe an apple or so. But in terms of starchy vegetables, you would really significantly reduce the potatoes. You can eat carrots, but not that many. You're really relying on non-starchy vegetables, olive oils, avocado oil, avocados. Um, you can rely on some soy milks. Almond milks really is even better because the beans actually are quite starchy, so you gotta reduce the amount of beans you eat also. But you're gonna eat a lot of lettuce, a lot of arugula, a lot of spinach. Those are the types of foods you're going to eat. A fruit, vegetable smoothie in the morning. You're going to significantly reduce your fruits, your bananas, things like that. So you're going to increase all of the nuts, and a lot of the avocado. You would increase, large salads, big soups. You would maybe eat some squash and vegetables like that. Cauliflower, broccoli. You want to rely on that, and you want to make certain foods you eat rarely. So for your salad, you might have a chicken breast on that, or an egg that's chopped up. But you want to reduce things like steak, big steaks, and bacon. You don't want to have bacon every morning, although some people do that on the ketogenic diet. Maybe have bacon a few mornings out of the week, but like I said, you don't want to rely on those high fat, high saturated fatty foods. You want to get a good mix of saturated, polyunsaturated, and monounsaturated. So the coconut oil, coconut butter, all that stuff you can eat. Regular butter you can take in. The broth, chicken broths, the beef broths you can take in. That type of food you can take, but you're significantly reducing the amount of fruit you eat, and of all processed foods you want to significantly reduce because a lot of them are going to have the white flour, the white sugar, and things like that you can't take in because it's going to drive up those sugar levels and take you out of ketosis. So you want to reduce that, but like I said, increase the fruits and vegetables. You may need to take a multivitamin because as you start the ketogenic diet, because you're reducing the insulin levels in the body, you're going to drive less potassium and magnesium into the cells, and so you're really going to need to eat a lot of green vegetables for that, and even take a supplement to get to get those minerals into the cells. So that's why when you kind of getting into ketosis, you can have trouble with those mineral levels. So make sure you're eating a lot of green foods, a lot of green leafy vegetables, and taking a multivitamin that has many of the minerals in it because they can decrease. So your coconut water is excellent. All coconut products are pretty good. Your eggs are okay. Green leafy vegetables, fish, salmon is good. But like I said, you really want to stress the green leafy vegetables, the nuts, seeds, all of those. And then, sparingly, you want to eat a little bit less of the meats, even the eggs, the chicken, and foods like that. And you significantly reduce fruit. You might have 1 piece a day at most. Maybe a small apple or something. No bananas, no flour products, no wheat products, no wheat bread, none of that, because that'll take you out of ketosis. You don't even want too many proteins. Like I said, your diet will be, in terms of calories, will be about 75 to 80% fat. The fibrous foods don't count in terms of adding to your calorie. In terms of the leafy vegetables, that all that is fiber, and so your body will basically take that in to the gut, and it'll be pushed out. It'll improve the health of your microbiome, the gut, and everything. So that'll be an excellent way to live. And the big thing with the ketogenic diet is, or with most diets or a lot of diets, is once you take out those processed foods, the sodas, the Coca-Colas, the Wonder Bread, the Oreo cookies, you're going to start to lose weight anyway. And so the ketogenic diet can be helpful. I think it's helpful for the short term. If you have epilepsy or cancer, it could be helpful for a longer term. Even diabetes, longer until you control the diabetes. But after that, it's cool to go back to a diet that includes a lot of fruits also. Although it'll take you out of keto ketosis. A diet like the DASH diet or the Mediterranean diet can still be quite helpful, and it's really the healthiest diet, because you're bringing those fruits back in, which have a lot of the fiber, nutrients, minerals, all of those things, and you're bringing your insulin levels back up a little bit. I mean, it's good to have some insulin working for you, especially if you're lifting weights and exercising. But in the ketogenic diet, the insulin levels are going to go down significantly, which is great for if you have cancer, because the insulin will drive the cancer cell to grow. It's great if you have diabetes, because if you have diabetes, you probably already have high insulin levels and your cells aren't even sensitive to it. So it's good to really try to drive the insulin levels down, give your pancreas a break, and help you get things back under control. Weight loss, like I said, it's helpful in weight loss because of the water that's driven out. But of course, because you're decreasing the amount of processed foods you're eating, you know, the ketogenic diet is going to be great for weight loss also. But like I said, I stress the vegan ketogenic diet, not the Atkins or any other ketogenic diet where you're eating bacon every morning and you're taking in way too many saturated fats, not mono. Okay. And that's basically it. That's all I wanted to talk to you guys, about the ketogenic diet. It's a fad that's going on now, but like I said, it has its benefits, it has its drawbacks, in terms of it relying on water loss to really help you lose weight. And we don't really know the long term effects of the ketogenic diet, but like I said, for these groups, diabetics, people with cancer, epilepsy, and even endurance athletes that use it sparingly, it can definitely hold many benefits for these groups, but as a long-term solution, I don't think it's a long-term solution. Any diet that takes fruit out, which I think is a natural food for humans to eat, I think is not the best diet, but like I said, it has its benefits, has its drawbacks, Fruit needs to be in your diet long-term if for health. And beans need to be in your diet. On the ketogenic diet, beans will have to be limited because they're high protein and they also have some starch. So the data shows that people who eat beans live the longest. So we really gotta have a diet that includes more beans and fruits in for the long term. But short term, to get your diabetes under control, to handle your cancer issues, for weight loss, it could be really helpful. I mean, in terms of the long term, those with epilepsy may have to use it longer until they can figure out ways to maybe control it and maybe slowly add in the glucose or the fruits or beans into the diet. But for the other groups, like it's good for short term until you get your health under control and then coming back and using those again. So guys, thanks a lot for listening. I'm gonna try to put out more material in the next few weeks or so. Thanks a lot once again. Ketogenic diet. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment, and hopefully I can get back to you. Thanks a lot, guys. Goodbye.